Murat Gassiev defeats Denis Lebedev on a 12-round split decision to become the new Ibf Cruiserweight World Champion. Lebedev's WBA belt was not on the line in this fight, so he gets to keep that. Now, first of all, I have to say this was a good fight. There was plenty of action. It was entertaining. We had a knockdown. We nearly had a knockout. I mean, at least the potential for a knockout in a couple of rounds there when Lebedev was wilting quite badly. But as far as the actual fight itself and the performances of the two fighters, I heard one of the commentators mention that Gassiev has only had a handful of amateur fights, which is very unusual for a Russian fighter. Maybe I heard wrong, but I swear I heard him say something like Gassiev only had 24 amateur fights. If that's true, then that would explain a lot of the things that Gassiev did wrong in this fight. Because he did do a lot of things wrong as well as doing some things right. Right off the bat, Denis Lebedev was clearly the technically more polished and far more skilled fighter in there. And it really was jarring to see an Eastern European fighter who, with Eastern Europeans, you normally have very good technical ability. That is totally missing from Murat Gassiev. Quite poor technical ability, actually, especially his footwork, which was just all over the place. This guy has no idea how to cut off a boxing ring and eliminate the exit points of his opponent. He just has no idea how to do it. He's very raw, but he is very strong. And as the rounds went by and he started upping the pressure, Denis Lebedev found it very, very difficult to keep Murat Gassiev off of him. And Gassiev, I would say, won a couple of rounds before the fifth, but in the fifth, maybe he won one or two rounds before the fifth, but in the fifth, he landed a left hook to the body, which dropped Denis Lebedev to the canvas. He actually landed a couple of decent body shots before that, and then the final left hook that went in dropped Lebedev. He went down. Lebedev got up, and Gassiev really didn't press the issue as much as you would have liked to see him. In between rounds, Abel Sanchez, Gassiev's trainer, seemed very frustrated with him. Not just at the end of the fifth, but also in between most of the rounds. He seemed frustrated that Gassiev wasn't throwing enough punches and that he was letting Lebedev off the hook and letting Lebedev back in the fight. And he really was. To me, to my eyes, and as far as I'm aware, there are no CompuBox numbers for this fight. To my eyes, Lebedev not only threw a hell of a lot more punches than Gassiev, but he also landed a hell of a lot more punches. It's just that Gassiev was pressing the action constantly, and he just seemed to hit a lot harder. Whenever his shots were landing, particularly his body shots, they were really hurting Denis Lebedev. There was a couple of times when Lebedev maybe buzzed Gassiev slightly, but yeah, Gassiev definitely seemed to have the advantage in power and also the advantage in physical strength because he was really manhandling Lebedev at times, pushing him back and just keeping him under constant pressure. And those 37-year-old legs of Lebedev's were pretty shaky by the middle of the fight. And if Gassiev had the kind of technical ability of a Golovkin, I mean, not even as good as a Golovkin, but if he was just a bit more polished, then I'm sure he could have got Denis Lebedev out of there because he really was there for the taking. He was totally knackered. I think a more experienced and more skilled fighter with footwork, with the kind of power that Gassiev has in strength, would have taken Lebedev out. But be that as it may, the rounds rolled on. Lebedev did kind of get a second wind, and in the last, I would say 2-3 rounds, he actually came alive a little bit again and started landing some decent punches. Whereas Gassiev, I think, did slow down a little bit towards the end of the fight. And the decision was read out. Gassiev got it. Two of the judges had it very wide for Gassiev, which surprised me, considering the fact that, as I say, yes, he was coming forward. Yes, he was landing the more damaging shots. But he seemed to be significantly outworked to me. It seemed to me that Lebedev was landing a lot more punches. So, did Gassiev's aggression and his more powerful shots neutralize Denis Lebedev's higher work rate and his more, frequently landing punches? That's up for you guys to debate. But I know there are going to be a lot of Lebedev fans who feel hard done by that decision. No question about it. I do think the scorecards were a bit wide. If you were going to give it to Gassiev, give it to him by a round or two. But to give it to him by the margins that they had it, that is a bit of a chin scratcher. Gassiev, an interesting addition to the cruiserweight division, but very, very raw. He's nowhere near on the level of an Alexander Usyk. Usyk would defeat Gassiev easily. I don't think that fight would be particularly competitive because Usyk is taller than Denis Lebedev, who's 5'10", 5'11", and Lebedev was able to outbox Gassiev on the back foot. And again, he's old as well, Lebedev. He was able to outbox Gassiev on the back foot for long stretches of the fight on 37-year-old legs when he's only 5'11" or whatever. Whereas Usyk is a much younger guy, much fresher, taller, longer reach, and even better on the back foot than Denis Lebedev. So I don't see Gassiev having a hope in hell against Alexander Usyk. And I might even pick Tony Bellew to beat Gassiev. I think that would be a good fight, though. That would be a good fight, Bellew against Gassiev. Bellew, I think, is not like Bellew is a technical wizard or anything like that, but I do think he's more refined, a lot more refined than Gassiev is. He maybe don't have the raw strength, although some people might disagree with that. He maybe don't have the raw bullish strength of Gassiev, but I think he is a bit more cultured in what he does. So that would be an interesting fight. But let me know what you guys felt about the fight. Did you agree with the scoring? Did you think that Gassiev had done enough to win the fight, even if the scorecards were wide? Or did you think that Lebedev was hard done by and that he should have kept his IBF Cruiserweight World title? As I say, he's still got the WBA version. Maybe they can sort out a rematch. I don't know. Let me know how you feel in the comment section below. It's your boy Hatman. I'm out.